All right, welcome back to ABA exam review and the continuation of our 6th edition BCBA task list series. Today we're continuing measurement, data display, and interpretation with C12, measurement procedures to obtain procedural integrity. What we're going to talk about today is how we can use actual measurement systems to check that our procedures are being implemented correctly. Instead of sitting there and supervising and guessing or using anecdotal data or using subjective data, which we shouldn't be doing, we can actually pick measurement systems to look at and measure and collect data on what we're trying to supervise. Procedural integrity is extremely important. If you write something in your treatment plan or behavior plan, you want it done correctly. You want your treatments done correctly. So a big part of your job will be regarding procedural integrity. As always, we're going to simplify it and break it down as much as possible. Be sure to subscribe for all of our BCBA task list videos and practice question videos. Check out our behavioranalyststudy.com website for all of our study materials. When you pass, let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shout out. Work hard, study hard. Let's get going. So procedural integrity or treatment integrity or fidelity, all these terms refer to how accurately an intervention is implemented as planned. When we talk about observer drift or bias or treatment drift, all these terms are regarding the longer our intervention goes, the more likely it is that something is going to change along the way. Whether the observer changes, whether the measurement changes, whether the target behavior changes. And if those changes aren't intentional, meaning we didn't plan on those changes, that is going to hurt the integrity of our treatment or our intervention. So we want to maintain integrity as much as possible. And we do that through supervision and measurement and training. When we have high procedural integrity, we're looking at consistent, accurate implementation, which typically leads to good data and better decisions and better outcomes. Poor integrity can invalidate treatment results if we're thinking research, or it can lead to flawed decision making in a more applied setting. If you're making decisions based on data that were collected during a flawed or a treatment with poor fidelity, you're making data-driven decisions that aren't accurate. You're making it on poor data collected from poor intervention and poor measurement. So your role as a BCBA, as a supervisor, is going to be largely based around monitoring procedural integrity. People think when I go out and supervise as a BCBA that you're just there to watch the client. What you're actually mostly there to do is make sure your technician or your paraprofessional or whoever's implementing your plan is doing it correctly. Yes, you're there for the client, but you're not there to implement. You're there to make sure whatever you designed is being implemented correctly. Now, as with anything, we want to select a measurement procedure that reflects what matters most about the intervention. And so I always say with supervision goals and supervision and monitoring treatment and interventions, you want to treat your technicians just like clients, right? We're going to use principles of ABA. We're going to use measurement systems. We're going to be objective. We're going to be empirical. So, for example, let's think about what matters in our interventions as far as integrity goes. Well, we can think about accuracy. Were the steps of the intervention followed correctly? Were we using the right measurement procedure? Were we delivering the correct feedback? Was the reinforcement schedule correct? All these things that go into the treatment plan, how accurate were the steps being followed by the technician? What about dosage? Was the intervention delivered with the right intensity and duration? If you are telling your technician that we need to be doing discrete trial for 10 minutes straight, and they're cutting it short at 6 or 7 minutes, dosage might be wrong. If they're supposed to be giving reinforcement every 3 responses and they're giving it every 6, dosage might be wrong. So we're looking at accuracy. Are we following the steps? Dosage. How's the intensity? How's the duration? How's the magnitude? What about sequence? Are we performing steps in the right order? If you think about discrete trial training, it's very important that we go in the proper order, right? It's very important that we keep on doing this over and over again and shuffling back and forth because that's how DTT is supposed to go. So what's the sequence of events? How does the prompt play into it? How does the reinforcer or the punisher play into it? Is the sequence being followed? And what about timeliness? A lot of cases we have, let's say, a 3-hour session. Maybe it's a 6-hour session if it's more of a day treatment program. But if you have a schedule or you have an allotted amount of time where you need to get things done, how timely is this intervention being done? If it needs to move rapidly with quick pace, that's one thing. If it needs to move slower and more deliberate, that's a whole nother. So you've got to think about what's important about the intervention and what are you focusing on that day as far as integrity goes. So you want to treat supervision of integrity like you would treat measuring the behavior of a client. What are you trying to determine? What are you looking at in that intervention where you're making sure it's being done correctly? So let's just choose a checklist, right? Let's start there. Let's say we want to use a checklist. Well, why might we use a checklist? Let's say we have to track multiple components of a protocol. Think about a pretty standard performance review, right? If I have a checklist of things that need to be done, I can do that very rapidly. Now, it's not going to be very thorough because I'm just checking boxes, but it's going to give me the ability to look at a bunch of different aspects of my intervention and check boxes to make sure each one is there. What about a permanent product? Well, let's say the behavior leaves a reviewable result. Let's say the token board was used or data were collected, right? Let's say you can't be there for a session. What are some things that we can look at that were produced by the intervention that we can measure later? Interval recording. The implementation spans a long period of time. Let's say we're watching a very long procedure and you really don't want to take data for an hour, so you break it into a sample and intervals. Event recording. You're counting specific correct, incorrect actions. Now we're getting down pretty nitty gritty. They were doing this correctly, yes or no. Rating scales. How about just a quick scoring of overall performance? How was reinforcement delivery? How was the feedback? How was the rapport? How was the SD delivery? How was prompt delivery? How was the intervention consistency? All these things you can rate, and this is a good way to provide feedback for your technician as well. Remember, we're using all this information to later model and train the technicians to get better. So as with all measurement systems or interventions, we've got to consider what does the environment allow us to do? Okay, we are all constrained by the environment and we just have to deal with that. So sometimes your ideal method isn't feasible. How is staff availability? Okay. Are they available for supervision? Are you available for supervision? Maybe permanent product or partial interval may be better. What about setting distractions? If there's a lot going on in the environment, checklist or rating scales, while a little more subjective and maybe not as thorough, still usable. Session length. If you have very long sessions, maybe we take samples of behavior because people get tired, people have things going on. So maybe samples are better. Observer burden. So you yourself, you might have a lot of cases. How can you be sustainable as far as supervision goes? You don't want to burn yourself out and then integrity across the board suffers. So for example, maybe in a group setting, you use a yes-no checklist instead of full event recording because there's a lot more happening. So just a few additional examples. Example one, let's say our target is using the token reinforcement system. Maybe we want to confirm tokens are delivered after each correct response. So we're measuring a checklist for accuracy of delivery. Was the token delivered with contiguity? Was there an exchange? Was it on the right reinforcement system? All these questions we can put on a checklist and quickly mark yes or no. Example two, let's say a 3-step compliance procedure. Were steps delivered in the correct order? What about a sequence-based analysis checklist? So another checklist, but we're still looking at a sequence here, right? Are we sequencing the 3 steps correctly if there is a correct sequence? What about morning routine task? Problem is the teacher has 10 students. There's a lot going on. So maybe we can use permanent product. Was the routine chart completed? Did the teacher go around, despite having the 10 students, and at least mark was routines completed, yes or no. So this one, obviously, if you're working one-on-one, isn't as big as a deal because you're not going to be having these large groups. So truly, it makes it even more important if you're working one-on-ones or supervising one-on-ones that your integrity checks are very, very strong. You don't want to write a good plan and have it suffer from poor integrity. Thanks for watching. Not an overly complicated concept, right? If you think about it, but very important. And it's a little more than just are things being done correctly, right? We still want to be systematic about it, want to have a plan. What are we really observing? What are we really trying to track? And then we can take measurement procedures, collect data, use that data to make good decisions. Always subscribe so you can get all of our updates. Check out behavioranalyststudy.com for all of our study materials. When you pass, let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shout out. Work hard, study hard. See you soon.